Now, this again is what I went over yesterday. Just test. You guys can all hear me, right? The audio didn't suddenly go away now that I'm showing you this. Anti-science saga. NBC contributor who documented harrowing battle with COVID-19 never had the virus, which is, by the way, a fact. The doctors themselves have spoken out. Okay, so before we even go through the details, realize what that means. They went through this whole harrowing tale about, and he's sick and we can all tell, look, can't you see? We can all see that he's got it. Like, that's like an actual quote. He tested numerous times, didn't have it, and they kept selling it to you. All right, somebody says about, I agree in the chat, optimism is important, right? I truly believe what I just said, but, even if it's wishful thinking, that's, there's the power of positive thought, right? But I do believe that. I truly do. That's just based on my interaction with people around the world and online. I think that people see this to varying degrees. But I think the two-party system is what stops each other from seeing that we're that. Right? I mean, that's an interesting thing. There's another part of that, right? The two-party system is what's stopping the left and the right from realizing they're on the same side. And then that stops the majority from realizing that they're actually the majority. And it goes forward. And these are ploys that have been instituted for a very long time that predate this country, in my opinion. Divide and conquer. I mean, that's classic. But anyway, so the point here, the dramatic televised saga of the doctor struggle. Understand, again, as I pointed out yesterday, this is a doctor, right? So this is a doctor and a contributor on mainstream media who went on and said this knowing that it wasn't true. Let that reflect on doctors in general, right? The possibility, not that they would all necessarily be lying all the time. Right? There are plenty of doctors who are showing the courage to stand up and challenge the narrative. My point is, just because you're a doctor doesn't mean that you're moral and righteous. Now, the dramatic televised saga of a doctor's struggle to overcome coronavirus has ended in embarrassment after the NBC News contributor quietly admitted, of course, because they never come out and go, guys, my mistake. Never. Quietly admitted that there's no evidence he ever had the virus. Now, I shouldn't even say never because there's plenty of examples where people come out and apologize, but I argue there's more to it when that happens, and it's usually when they're already caught. That's my point. So now that everybody sees it, if he were to then come out and go, guys, I'm so sorry, that means nothing to me, right? The fact that he quietly admitted it when nobody knew, it shows you who he is. You don't quietly admit that you made this massive lie that scared everybody into removing their rights from themselves, right? Think about that. Now, Dr. Joseph Fair, so you guys remember his name, Dr. Joseph Fair. I think that should reflect on the people who maybe, work or you go to see him as a doctor. I mean, you guys have every right to know that somebody like this, at the very least, I'm not suggesting he knowingly lied. That's what I think. I'm not suggesting I know that, I should say. That's what I definitely think. But either he lied or he's just that bad at what he does that he allowed that to go on that long. Either way, I think that reflects quite greatly on this person. But Dr. Joseph Fair appeared at least 10 times on NBC and MSNBC over the last 2 months to share his fight against COVID-19 with network's viewers. His television appearances, including an interview from his hospital bed, fueled panic about the illness. Describing himself as a fit and healthy 42-year-old, Fair claimed in May that he had absorbed the virus through his eyes while on a flight. As it turns out, there's no reason to believe he ever contracted the virus. Now, again, this is just funny that I made this point yesterday, and somebody commented in the chat on the other video that, that's so stupid. How do you not know that you can get virus through your eye? Did I say you can't get a virus through your eyes? It's amazing that people are today attacking what they think your intentions are, as opposed to what you literally say. That is a product of the propagandized society we're living in. What I said is that it's ridiculous that he could make that claim. How are you going to know? I mean, especially now that he never even tested positive. Did he just feel something touch his eye and go, oh, that was COVID? I mean, really, take a moment and think about it logically. How did he somehow know? Why it wasn't in his mouth? Right? Why wasn't it something he touched in his face? I mean, why couldn't it have been anything? Why was it specifically that it transmitted through his eye? Because he's trying to scare you to thinking, well, even when you don't wear your mask, it can still go right into your eye, right? This is propaganda. And of course, everybody that freaks out about saying that I can't believe you're sharing that, they're missing the point, which is usually how this goes. Now it says the doctor announced earlier this week that his COVID-19 antibody test had returned negative, and his suspected illness from the virus remains an undiagnosed mystery. Yeah, not really. Not much of a mystery at all. You know why? Because he had 4 different tests. 4. Incredibly, Fair had been tested numerous times for the COVID while receiving treatment for his disease. Each test was negative, but that didn't stop him from continuing to insist that he had the virus. NBC appears similarly unbothered by his negative test results. On May 14th, Today host Huda Khattab, it's an interesting name, noted the negative tests, but dismissed them as inaccurate. Can you believe that? So suddenly, when inaccurate tests suit their narrative, well, yeah, because we know they're inaccurate. But when we say they're inaccurate because you're removing our rights, you go, you're a conspiracy theorist and you're being irresponsible. Isn't that perfect? Isn't this amazing how we're the crazy ones as they're literally playing both sides of the narrative? That's called being a hypocrite. That's a double standard. Oh, that's dismissed because they're inaccurate. We know that. Clearly you have it, she says, after dismissing the negative test. Why? Because she has symptoms? Because there's no other possible thing that could be happening in this moment? Well, that's the narrative they want to sell you, for sure. The contradictory results were omitted by his subsequent appearances on NBC and MSNBC. Interesting, don't you think? Here was his defense. I had myriad COVID symptoms, was hospitalized in a COVID ward, and treated for COVID-related comorbidities. So what does any of that mean? So he had symptoms. So would anybody with any number of respiratory illnesses, or even numerous things that aren't respiratory illnesses that just have the same symptoms. So that means nothing. So a doctor would know that, was hospitalized in a COVID ward because they were possibly, right? So many people are hospitalized today. And that's why we're seeing the hospitals rise, because they're concerned and being told they might have it. So it means nothing. Then he was treated for comorbidities. You realize that means any number of things. He could have had diabetes. That's a comorbidity in regard to that. This is an illusion. This is him making it sound like there's a justification when what it means is I had symptoms. So you don't know. I was hospitalized based on those symptoms. We don't know. Treated for things I already had in case I had this. So he doesn't know. And he went on to say it over and over and over and lied and said he has it. The tests don't matter. They're negative again and again and again. And then he has an antibody test that says he doesn't have it after the fact. And he still says that it's probably there. It's just an undiagnosed mystery. This is the apex of the ridiculousness of fake news from mainstream media that are being caught in real time, and still people are telling us we're being irresponsible. Check this out.
In our own small NBC, MSNBC family today, Dr. Joseph Fair, he's hospitalized with COVID-19.
You had all the Purell, you were wiping everything down. So even with all those precautions, you're pretty sure that's where you got it?
I'm pretty sure, because I went directly home and I didn't really go out after that. So I'm pretty sure it was the airplane.
You were tested 4 times for the coronavirus, and every time it came back negative, but clearly you have it.
That virus can strike a guy like Dr. Fair. It can strike anyone.
Tonight, an update on one of our own colleagues now battling the coronavirus.
Should we all be wearing some kind of eye protection?
In my opinion, yes.
How did you know you had it? And did you have anything in your brain that was like, oh no, I can't get it. I'm the person that tells everybody on NBC and MSNBC how to not get it.
He's had malaria 3 times, but says this was worse.
The anxiety that is provoked when you can't breathe, it's something uniquely very frightening. How could I have possibly, gotten this? And there's many ways that I could have. But
I know that you're also recovering from COVID-19. So just let me first ask you how you're doing.
I'm doing well.
As a matter of fact, right? As a matter of fact, since we know, despite the negative test, that you do have this, go ahead and let us know how bad it is. Right? Is anybody not seeing how clear this is?
I'm 3 weeks out and they're dropping their guard, kind of thinking that this is all over while it is very much not over. I can tell you that myself.
I would like you to share a little bit about your recovery from COVID-19.
I did not expect what...
Again, remember, even at this point, his recovery, right? Understand that Chuck Todd, all of them, already know 4 tests have been negative, and they're still running with the story. That's called a choice.
If I got COVID-19, that I would get that ill.
Dr. Joseph Fair is an MSNBC science contributor, recently recovered himself from the coronavirus.
But you were in bed, you were in oxygen. How's the recovery going?
I would say I'm near back to 100%.
What a joke. What a joke. I mean, does anybody not see how clear that is? right? That they are choosing to spread this information. Now, look, even if he had it, do you realize that they made the choice that he had it, even with the negative test, just because it suited their narrative? And they kept pushing and they kept pushing and they kept suggesting, oh, should we wear well, I think you should wear eye cover. Oh, okay. It was just a set it up and knock it out of the park every single time and scaring people every single time. Again, I revisit the point. How would you possibly know that you got it through your eye? Right? Okay, so he has a mask on. Okay, my eye's the only thing that were open. That's called a guess. Right? That's a guess. Because, well, we know we have it, which now we know he didn't. So it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is what mainstream media does. And it's just like what's frustrating is you'll get this point out and somebody will be like, aha, right? The aha, they see it finally. And then tomorrow there'll be a new mainstream media story and a new QAnon, a new Russiagate, and they get worked right back into it. But that's what we do. That's why I will keep doing this day in and day out to continue showing you the reality. Here's another tweet. Well, isn't that something? And he says, the worst I've ever felt, describes what he felt like to contract COVID-19. He never tested positive, right? These are things that should be destroying this entire narrative. Now, remember also, there were some other points I wanted to get to. I thought, oh no, that's what it was. Just the Chris Cuomo thing at the end. And this is RT also notes out, CNN, Chris Cuomo, was also caught breaking quarantine after allegedly falling ill with the virus. But guess what? Chris Cuomo tests negative for COVID-19. It's almost like they're trying to create an illusion to scare you. Now, look, this just because they caught faking does not immediately translate into this is not real or it's not as severe. That is what I think, that it's not as severe. But just realize that's not how that works, right? All this shows you is that they have a vested interest in keeping you fearful about it. That's what it shows you, right? But I do believe that this is what the point was, because there's an entire $1 trillion agenda here to make sure that you're scared enough about this thing to allow them to do all the things they want to do. But it doesn't stop there. Here's another example of the same kind of mainstream media lies, or this is the government. Which, they're all the mainstream media. Your government, the fake journalist in the mainstream, propaganda networks. It's the mainstream establishment propaganda machine, the government, all of it. And here is a Phoenix mayor getting caught lying about morgues bringing in refrigerator trucks. And it says, as a number of hospitalized COVID-19 patients in Maricopa County climbed to new highs this week. Phoenix mayor, now again, these are hospital beds and cases, just like we keep showing you, that do not translate into deaths, even though they're now trying to make that claim. I'll show you what the CDC is saying. But right now, as cases go up because they're testing more, and as we know that they're conflating even that with hypothetical and probable cases, it's just a guaranteed recipe for a bigger number to every week say, oh, look how much it went up, right? And then they're using that to remove rights from you, even though we know that they're inflated, know that they're incorrect, and know that it does not translate into you're in danger. It translates into people are catching this thing or probably already had this thing that are also being told, based on the newest data, is not as severe. If you're under 40, it's somewhere at 0.004% of death rate. That's coming from Stanford itself, right? We have the CDC itself telling you that children are literally at a 0% chance of dying because it's about 0.00001%, 0%. Right. So what are we not seeing here? Right. What is the disconnect? But let's keep moving forward. Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego appeared on MSNBC Friday morning for an interview with Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd again, let's see, the usual suspects. Katie toured to discuss the situation in the state, which had moved to close bars. And guess what? As always, roll back reopening measures to keep you locked down, right? It's just they teased it in front of you. Don't worry, it's just about to get back. But, you didn't do your job. You weren't wearing masks. Now we got to do it all over again, right? It's all your fault. That's what it is. Despite the fact that it was never the point to reopen that again. Not yet, anyway. Once they get their technocratic surveillance network set up, well, yeah, that'll be time. Now, it says during the interview, Gallego claimed that the country's public health agency had just put in an order for refrigerated trucks because they were running out of space in the morgue. She said Maricopa County, which is our county public health agency, just announced that they're going to be getting refrigerated trucks because the Abrazo healthcare system has run out of morgue beds. And unlike yesterday, I actually found her saying it. Here she is.
This weekend, Maricopa County, which is our county public health agency, just announced that they are going to be getting refrigerated trucks because the Abrazo healthcare system has run out of morgue beds.
I mean, I just my personal take, now that we definitely know that she's lying, it kind of seems like she's, almost being fed the information or something like that, the way that she's kind of like, I'm getting the more morgue beds. I don't know. That's my take, but which is irrelevant now because she is lying. And I'll show you why. Now, it says, hours later, after that comment, and this is when her comments were proliferating all throughout the media, and of course, see, they're even doing this. Oh, guess what the media didn't do? Their due diligence, right? Big surprise. Make sure you take that point away, right? That she said this, and because a government person said something, everyone in the media reported it as absolute fact. That's not what journalists are supposed to do, but that's what propagandists do, blindly report the government narrative, right? Please notice that. And that was Fox, CNN, MSNBC, the whole shebang. Now it says representatives for the hospital system called and complained that the mayor's comment wasn't true, despite the fact that she made the claim, seemingly with a high degree of certainty, on a popular cable show, because that wasn't intentional. Spokesman Keith Jones told azcentral.com directly that Abrazo hospitals have, quote, adequate morgue space. Right? Now, you could point out that guy could be lying, okay? But it doesn't seem like he would have an interest in that. He's openly saying that's just simply not true. Now it says, here's the story. Phoenix and the rest of the state have been asked to implement their emergency plans. Okay, so they're being asked to implement plans now that are not necessarily needed to prepare for the possible COVID-19 overloads. Isn't that a little bit different than saying flat out, we don't have enough space? So they can then say, look, people are dying. We don't have enough space. No, you're doing it for the possibility that may happen. That is a lie. That is a straight up lie. Part of the plan, Jones said, was to proactively make sure there would be enough morgue space after, following up. So the hospital system ordered refrigerated storage weeks ago, but they've yet to be deployed. Then she says, well, at this point, it's not needed. Well, funny how that changed pretty quickly, wouldn't you say? Lying, deceiving, creating an illusion about something that's not there while they remove all these things from you.